Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Nara Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudire Nashtaprayeshu Abhatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Neshtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome for the Bhagavatam reading class. Thank you for joining the class. So we were at the 31st shloka, right? Or was it the 24th shloka? No, it is the 31st shloka, yeah. Yeah, we ended at the 30th shloka. I said that. I'll just share the screen with you all quickly. Yeah. Taijasat to vikurvanad indriyani dasha bhavan jnana shakti kriya shakti buddhi prana satajaijasu shrotam tvak घ्राणादृक् जिह्वा वाग्दोर मेधरान गिरिपायवः. Sushil Prabhu, please do the honors of reading the translation and quoted both.
Hare Krishna. Translation: by further transformation of the mode of passion, the sense organs like the ear, skin, nose, eye, tongue, mouth, hand, genitals, legs, and the outlet for evacuating, together with the intelligence and living energy, are all generated. Purport: the living condition in material existence depends more or less on one's intelligence and powerful living energy. Intelligence to counteract the hard struggle for existence is assisted by the sense for acquiring knowledge, and the living energy maintains himself by manipulating the active organs like the hands and legs. But on the whole, the struggle for existence is an exertion of the mode of passion. Therefore, all the sense organs headed by intelligence and the living energy, prana, are different products and byproducts of the second mode of nature called passion. This mode of passion, however, is the project of the air element as described before. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. So, he is saying that Taijasat tu Vikurvanat Indriyani. So, Taijasa means intelligence, which is the Jnana Shakti, means which gives strength to the Jnanendriya. So, intelligence gives strength to the Jnanendriyas, and one of the prominent symptom of or function of intelligence is discrimination. So a child's intelligence isn't developed, or he doesn't have a developed intelligence. So therefore, the functioning of his sense of touch, smell, etc., they are not very developed. For example, he's playing in the stool, as he's playing in his own stool actually, and he eats. You can see a distinct lack of discrimination, because he's not able to distinguish that is it mud, it is food, or it is stool. Sometimes by mistake, he's licking that stool also a mentally retarded person, uh, you know he lacks discrimination, and this lack of discrimination because of less developed Gyanendriyas are there. So they may have a very powerful Karmendriya. So Karmendriya is not so much compromised if one's intelligence is at a low level. But if the intelligence is low, the functioning of the Gyanendriyas is very much compromised. So then he's saying that pranastu tajesu. So he's saying that how even prana affects the Gyanendriyas, that the 10 senses are also the products of the mode of passion. And these also, prana is also affecting the Karmendriya. So in this particular shloka is saying that this creation of these products and false ego is in the mode of passion. And and this is the last shloka of this Karan Shakti. So whatever is needed to start this creation, now the ingredients have been, created, and now these ingredients have to be put together to create a functioning universe. Like previously also I was discussing that you want to make suji halwa. So suji mil gaya hai abhi, और चीनी मिल गई है, घी मिल गया है, you have ghee also, you have इलायची, बादाम, काजू, पिस्ता, जो भी है, all these ingredients are there, okay, and you have even fire, and now only you have to put these ingredients together. So so over here, this is the end of this Karan Shrishti, and now Brahma ji will describe about the Karya Shakti. तो कारण शक्ति तो पता चल गया, ठीक है ना, एलिमेंट्स है, all these things are there, but what is the karya, what is the work now these ingredients will be doing? So we'll be seeing in the next subsequent 3-4 shlokas. Let's check that out. यदैते असंगत भाव भूतेन्द्रिय मनोगुणाः यदातना निर्माणे न सेकेर ब्रह्मवित्तमा. Lakshminarayan Prabhu, are you in a position to read?
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanavad Pranam.
Yes, Mataji. Translation. O Narada, best of the transcendentalist, the forms of the body cannot take place as long as these created parts, namely the elements, senses, mind, and modes of nature, are not assembled. Purport. The different types of bodily construction of the living entities are exactly like different types of motor cars manufactured by assembling the allied motor parts. When the car is ready, the driver sits in the car and moves it as he desires. This is also confirmed in the Bhagavad-gītā 18.61. The living entity is as if seated on the machine of the body, and the car of the body is moving by the control of the material nature, just as the railway trains are moving under the direction of the controller. The living entities, however, are not the bodies. They are separate from the cars of the body. But the less intelligent material scientist cannot understand the process of assembling the parts of the body, namely the senses, the mind, and the qualities of the material modes. Every living entity is a spiritual spark, part and parcel of the Supreme Being. And by the kindness of the Lord, for the Father is kind to his sons, the individual living beings are given a little freedom to act according to their will to lord it over the material nature. Just as a father gives some playthings to the crying child to satisfy him, the whole material creation is made possible by the will of the Lord to allow the bewildered living entities to lord it over things as they desire, although under the control of the agent of the Lord. The living entities are exactly like small children playing the material field under the control of the maid servant of the Lord nature. They accept the Maya or the maid servant as all in all, and thus wrongly conceive the supreme truth to be feminine, goddess Durga, etc. The foolish childlike materialist cannot reach beyond the conception of the maid servant, material nature, But the intelligent grown-up sons of the Lord known well that all the acts of material nature are controlled by the Lord. Just as a maid servant is under the control of the master, the father of the undeveloped children. The parts of the body, such as the senses, are the creation of the Mahatattva, and when they are assembled by the will of the Lord, the material body comes into existence, and the living entity is allowed to use it for further activities. This is explained all as follows.
Yeah.
Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. So now Brahmaji is telling to Narada that all these ingredients, the mind, the senses, etc., as long as he's saying yada, as long as he's saying over here, that asangat bhavaha, asanga means without being assembled, bhava means remain so situated. So as long as they are separated sangas, means coming together, or asanga means separate. um, so he's saying that what over he's saying that yadatmana nirmane. So he's saying that means creation, this process of creation cannot start as long as they are in a state of separation. अभी अलग अलग है ना, चीनी अलग है, सूजी अलग है, it is different, right? So now if you see even in the third canto, chapter 5, each one of these elements has a controlling deity. Like the eyes have a controlling deity, the ears have a controlling deity, the skin, the nose, the tongue, the hands, the feet, all these have controlling deities actually. So the controlling deity of all these elements, they go to the Supreme Lord. And what do? They offer praise. So one full chapter is dedicated to the praise by the elements to the Supreme Lord. My dear Lord, you have created us with the purpose of assisting in this creation process, but we all are separate. So please do something so that your desire for this creation can be accomplished. Do something to bring us together. So now in this text 33, we'll be seeing that how these elements are brought together. And the Lord has his cohesive energy, Kali, and all these are, you can say that these elements are brought together. Let's just go to the next look and check. Tada samhyata chayonam bhavat shakti chodita sad asatvam upadaya chobhyam sastrujur hi adaha. Priyanka, please read the 33rd translation and purport both.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Translation. Thus, when all these become assembled by force of the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this universe certainly came into being by accepting both the primary and secondary causes of creation. Purport. In this verse, it is clearly mentioned that the Supreme Personality of Godhead exerts his different energies in the creation. It is not that he himself is transformed into material creations. He expands himself by his different energies as well as by his plenary portions. In a corner of the spiritual sky of Brahmajyoti, a spiritual cloud sometimes appears, and the covered portion is called the Mahatattva. The Lord then, by his plenary portion as Mahavishnu, lies down within the water of the Mahatattva, and the water is called the casual ocean, Karana Jala. While Mahavishnu sleeps within the casual ocean, innumerable universes are generated along with his breathing. These universes are floating and they are scattered all over the casual ocean. They stay only during the breathing period of Mahavishnu. In each and every universal globe, the same Mahavishnu enters again as Garbhodakasthai Vishnu and lies there on the serpent-like Shesha incarnation. From his navel sprouts a lotus stem, and on the lotus Brahma, the Lord of the universe, is born. Brahma creates all forms of living beings of different shapes in terms of different desires within the universe. He also creates the sun, moon, and other demigods. Therefore, the chief engineer of the material creation is the Lord Himself, as confirmed in the Bhagavad-gītā 9.10. It is He only who directs the material nature to produce all sorts of moving and non-moving creations. There are two modes of material creation: the creation of the collective universes, as stated above, done by the Mahavishnu, and the creation of the single universe. Both are done by the Lord, and thus the universal shape, as we can see, takes place. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. So, all these elements are brought together, and by this coming together right now, the primary form of the material universe is formed. And later, Krishna Govinda, and later the secondary form of these bodies of this living entity will also be formed eventually. So, first, after the elements are created, the Lord's the Lord's Vibhrat Shakti, or the Lord's cohesive energy, that is actually enters these elements and then brings all of them together. This is like putting, as I mentioned, sugar, ghee, suji, and dry fruits together in one kadai. But still, just by putting everything or ingredients in the kadai, the halwa is not ready. Some more process is required. It has to be stirred more. So the supervision of a person is also required. डाल के छोड़ दिया तो क्या होगा, जल जाएगा. So then after this, then this Shakti brings all the elements together, and then it is forming an universal egg that we'll see in the next shloka. Okay. Varshapuga sahasrante tadand mukha muda keshayam kalakarma swabhavastho jivo ajivam jivayat. Matangi Mataji, please read translation and purport of this 34th shloka.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thanks for giving me the opportunity. I have been quite irregular past few days. Sorry for the being inconsistent. I'm extremely sorry, but today I decided I have to be, Ashad Ekadasi bhi hai, so I thought I should come somehow make time to join the class. Thank you, Mataji.
Mataji, we know you are a Grihastha, and Grihastha have many problems. So there is always a concession for Grihasthas.
Thank
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
you. Hare Krishna. The translation. Thus, all the universes remained thousands of eons within the water, the casual ocean, and the Lord of living beings, entering in each of them, caused them to be fully animated. Purport. The Lord is described here as the Jiva because he is the leader of all other Jivas, living entities. In the Vedas, he is described as the Nitya, the leader of all other Nityas. The Lord's relation with the living entities is like that of the father with the sons. The sons and the father are qualitatively equal, but the father is never the son, nor is the son ever the father who begets. So as described above, the Lord as Garbhodakshai Vishnu or Hiranyagarbha super soul enters into each and every universe and causes it to be animated by begetting the living entities within the womb of the material nature, as confirmed in the Bhagavad-gītā 14.3. After each annihilation of the material creation, all the living entities are merged within the body of the Lord, and after creation, they are again impregnated within the material energy. In material existence, therefore, the material energy is seemingly the mother of the living entities, and the Lord is the father. When, however, the animation takes place, the living entities revive their own natural activities under the spell of time and energy, and thus the varieties of living beings are manifested. The Lord, therefore, is ultimately the cause of all animation in the material world. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much. So, if you see, all these elements, when they're brought together by the Shakti, the Vibrat Shakti, it forms a universal egg. And this universal egg is lying for thousands of years in the Karanodaksha, ocean. So even after they are brought together, creation is not complete. And this universe is also not yet differentiated, means it has not yet manifested into the 14 planetary system. That happens only after Garbhodaksha Vishnu enters that universe. So Garbhodaksha Vishnu has not entered this universe. The universal eggs has been formed. So it is mentioned in this 34th text that the Supreme Lord, who is actually Garbhodaksha Vishnu, who's a living person, a Javam, he enters into this dead universe, which is not yet started functioning. Okay, so there is a word used over here. Okay, ajivyat. Okay, so he gives life to this universe by entering into the universe. So in the first step, the elements are brought together by their cohesive energy, the Vibrat Shakti, and after it forms the universal egg, it is floating in the Karana ocean for thousands of years. After that, the Supreme Lord, Garbhodaksha Vishnu, he enters that universe and gives it life. And now, if you see in the 6th chapter also, we'll see that how Garbhodaksha Vishnu is entering this universe, and this universe differentiates itself into 14 planetary systems. So that's how this chapter will go. And so now the next shloka that we'll be reading is actually, this is the seed verse for the next chapter. The next chapter is Purusha Shakta confirmed. So this becomes, so the demigods who are offering, prayers even before creation, from, where do they come, and see that there are 3 kinds of creation that is described. That is Prakruti, Vaikrut, and mixed creation. So, so some of the living entities are created by the Supreme Lord. Not all the living entities are created by Brahma. So these demigods fall into Prakrut creation, and those who are offering praise. So the presiding deity of this Mahatattva Pradhan, they all are coming under this Prakrut creation. So this is the seed verse to the next chapter, the 35th shloka. So this is the seed verse, the 35th shloka. So, Seva Purushastasmad Andam Nirbhidya Nirgatah Sahasro Vangari Bhava Aksha Sahasranana Shir Shuvana. So he's saying that the Lord Mahavishnu, although lying in the causal ocean, came out of it, and dividing himself as Hiranyagarbha, he entered into each universe and assumed the Virat Roop with thousands of legs, arms, mouths, and heads. So the expansions of the planetary systems within each and every universe is situated in the different parts of the Virat Roop universal form of the Lord, and they are described as follows. So again, Virat Roop is coming over here as such. So the next shloka is Yasya Yasyeha Vai Lokan Kalpayanti Manishina Katyadi Viradha Sapta Saptordhava Jaghannadibhi. Jagdish Prabhu, are you there?
Yes, Mataji.
Would you please read translation and purport both?
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Krishna.
Great philosophers imagine that the complete planetary systems in the universe are displays of the different upper and lower limbs of the universal body of the Lord. Purport. The word Kalpyanti or imagine is significant. The Virat universal form of the Absolute is an imagination of the speculative philosophers who are unable to adjust to the eternal two-handed form of Lord Śrī Krishna. Although the universal form, as imagined by the great philosophers, is one of the features of the Lord, it is more or less imaginary. It is said that the 7 upper planetary systems are situated above the waist of the universal form, whereas the lower planetary systems are situated below his waist. The idea impressed herein is that the Supreme Lord is conscious of every part of his body, and nowhere in the creation is there anything beyond his control. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Mataji, I'll interrupt in between. I just wanted to ask, yesterday you were showing some content from one book in yesterday's lecture. What book is that?
Prabhuji, that is Bhagavad Subodhini, and it is available on Amazon also, and it has a Kindle version also. So
Okay.
I have both. I have the physical book also, and I have the Kindle version also. So I will just share the link for the Amazon purchase if somebody wants to purchase this book. Very helpful book. Very, very helpful. It's like a guide.
Yes, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji.
Understand the Bhagavatam very nicely, Prabhu. So I generally take a little help from there, where actually primarily with the Canto 2, I've taken a lot of help to understand it from this Bhagavad Subodhini, and I was able to understand little bit from the Bhagavad Subodhini.
Thank you, Mataji.
So if you see with this 36 shloka, within this universe, these wise people, they imagine the planets as, the Lord's limbs. The buttocks and the below are the lower 7 planetaries, starting with, Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Patala, and the hips are above the 7 planetary systems, it's starting with Earth, Bhu, Bhur, Swargalok and all that. Om, Bhur, Bhurva, we say, the Bhu, Bhurva, and then Swargalok, Janalok, Tapalok, like that. So now in the next, actually, it will say that. So now actually it's a description of, you can say it's the description of the Virat Roop is there from 36 onwards. Okay. So, Purshasya Mukham Brahma Kshatram Etasya Bhavah Urvar Vaishyo Bhagavata Padhambhyam Shudro Vyajayatah. Mataji, please read translation and purport both.
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Today you compensate for all the days you were absent.
The Brahmanas represent his mouth, the Kshatriyas his arms, the Vaishyas his thighs, and the Shudras are born of his legs. Purport. All living beings are stated to be the parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, and how they are so is explained in this verse. The 4 divisions of human society, namely the intelligent class, the Brahmanas, the administrative class, the Kshatriyas, The mercantile class, the Vaishyas, and the laborer class, the Shudras, are all in different parts of the body of the Lord. As such, no one is different from the Lord. The mouth of the body and the legs of the body are non-different constitutionally, but the mouth or the head of the body is qualitatively more important than the legs. At the same time, the mouth, legs, the arms, and the thighs are all component parts of the body. These limbs of the body of the Lord are meant to serve the complete whole. The mouth is meant for speaking and eating. The arms are meant for the protection of the body. The legs are meant for carrying the body, and the waist of the body is meant for maintaining the body. The intelligent class in society, therefore, must speak on behalf of the body as well as accept footsteps to satisfy the hunger of the body. The hunger of the Lord is to accept the fruits of sacrifice. The Brahmanas of the intelligent class must be very expert in performing such sacrifices, and the subordinate classes must join in such sacrifices. To speak for the Supreme Lord means to glorify the Lord by means of propagating the knowledge of the Lord as it is, broadcasting the factual nature of the Lord and the factual position of all other parts of the whole body. The Brahmanas, therefore, are required to know the Vedas or the ultimate source of knowledge. Veda means knowledge and Anta means the end of it. According to Bhagavad-gītā, the Lord is the source of everything. Aham sarvasya prabhava. And thus the end of all knowledge. Vedanta is to know the Lord, to know our relationship with Him, and to act according to that relationship only. The parts of the body are related to the body. Similarly, the living being must know his relationship with the Lord. The human life is especially meant for this purpose, namely to know the factual relationship of every living being with the Supreme Lord. Without knowing this relationship, the human life is spoiled. The intelligent class of men, the Brahmanas, are therefore especially responsible for broadcasting this knowledge of our relationship with the Lord and leading the general mass of people to the right path. The administrative class is meant for protecting the living beings so that they can serve this purpose. The mercantile class is meant for producing food grains and distributing them to the complete human society so that the whole population is given a chance to live comfortably and discharge the duties of human life. The mercantile class is also required to give protection to the cows in order to get sufficient milk and milk products, which alone can give the proper health and intelligence to maintain a civilization perfectly meant for knowledge of the ultimate truth. And the laborer class, who are neither intelligent nor powerful, can help by physical services to the other higher classes and thus be benefited by their cooperation. Therefore, the universe is a complete unity relationship with the Lord. And without this relationship with the Lord, the whole human society is disturbed and is without any peace and prosperity. This is confirmed in the Vedas. Brahmano syam mukham asid bahu rajanya krita. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Mataji.
So,
Hare Krishna.
one very striking point it just struck me, that when these elements, these 23 elements that are there of Mahatattva, Ahankar, these 5 Tanmatras or 5 gross elements, or even the 11 senses, they are in an unmixed state. And then these bodily forms, they cannot, take place. So, when this assembly happens, like, this ghee, suji, chini, all these assembly happens, it is happening by the Lord's Maya Shakti. When they're meeting, that assembly ho rahi hai, so then, and they're still in an inactive state. Why? Because you need a person to, shake it, right? So everything is in a dormant state. Sukt avastha mein, create ho gaya hai. Lekin abhi bhi sukt avastha mein, it is still in dormant state. So, after thousands of years of inactivity, then when Lord Garbhodakshay Vishnu, he enters this universe and he enlivens these elements. And then he expands into this Virat Roop, what we are seeing, like, from 36 shloka to 42 shloka, that how how the lower planetary systems are formed and how the higher planetary systems are formed. So that way. So now from the 38 to the 41 shlokas, all these planetary systems will be described, like what is forming the Lord's head or heart or navel or chest or thigh or knees, So that detailed description is happening. And over here in this 37th shloka, so it has been described in terms of actually Varna, that the Brahmanas are the mouth and the head of the Varnashram system, or the Kshatriyas are the arms, or the Vaishyas are the thighs, or the Shudras are the legs. And now he'll describe in terms of planetary systems. So let's see. भूर्लोक कल्पिता पद्भ्याम भुवर्लोक अस्य नाभिता हृदः स्वर्गलोक उरसा महार्लोको महात्मनाः. Sushil Prabhu, please read the translation and purport both.
Hare Krishna. Translation. The lower planetary systems up to the limit of earthly stratum are said to be situated in his legs. The middle planetary systems beginning from Bhuvarloka are situated in his navel, and the still higher planetary systems occupied by the demigods and highly cultured sages and saints are situated in the chest of the Supreme Lord. Purport. There are 14 spheres of planetary systems within this universe. The lower systems are called Bhurloka, the middle systems are called Bhuvarloka, and the higher planetary systems up to Brahmaloka, the highest planetary system of the universe, are called Swarloka. And all of them are situated on the body of the Lord. In other words, no one within this universe is without a relationship with the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you. ग्रीवाया जनलोकस्य तपोलोकस्तनाद्वयातः मूर्धाभिः सत्यलोकस्तु ब्रह्मलोक सनातनः. Lakshman Prabhu, please read this translation and purport both 39.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Translation. From the forefront of the chest up to the neck of the universal form of the Lord are situated the planetary systems named Janaloka and Tapoloka, whereas Satyaloka, the topmost planetary system, is situated on the head of the form. The spiritual planets, however, are eternal. Purport. Many times in these pages, we have discussed the spiritual planets situated beyond the material sky, and the description is corroborated in these words. The word Sanatana is significant. This very idea of eternity is expressed in the Bhagavad-gītā 8.20, where it is said that beyond the material creation is the spiritual sky, where everything is eternal. Sometimes Satyaloka, the planet in which Brahma resides, is also called Brahmaloka. But the Brahmaloka mentioned here is not the same as the Satyaloka planetary system. This Brahmaloka is eternal, whereas the Satyaloka planetary system is not eternal. And to distinguish between the two, the adjective Sanatana has been used in this case. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, this Brahmaloka is the Loka or abode of Brahman or the Supreme Lord. In the spiritual sky, all the planets are as good as the Lord himself. The Lord is all spirit, and his name, fame, glories, qualities, pastimes, etc. are all non-different from him because he is absolute. As such, the planets in the kingdom of God are also non-different from him. In those planets, there is no difference between the body and the soul, nor is there any influence of time as we experience it in the material world. And in addition to the planets in Brahmaloka, due to being spiritual, are never annihilated. All variegatedness in the spiritual planets is also one with the Lord, and therefore the Vedic aphorism Ekam Evad Vityam is fully realized in that Sanatana atmosphere of spiritual variegatedness. This material world is only a shadow, phantasmagoria of the spiritual kingdom of the Lord, and because it is a shadow, it is never eternal. The variegatedness in the material world of duality, spirit and matter, cannot be compared to that of the spiritual world. Because of a poor fund of knowledge, less intelligent persons sometimes mistake the conditions of the shadow world to be equivalent to those of the spiritual world. And thus they may mistake the Lord and his pastimes in the material world to be one with the conditioned souls and their activities. The Lord condemns such less intelligent persons in the Bhagavad-gītā 9.11. Whenever the Lord incarnates, he does so in his full internal potency, Atma Maya, and less intelligent persons mistake him to be one of the material creations. Srila Sridhar Swami, therefore, rightly commenting on this verse, says that the Brahmaloka mentioned here is Vaikunta, the kingdom of God, which is Sanatana or eternal, and is therefore not exactly like the material creations described above. The Virat universal form of the Lord is an imagination for the material world. It has nothing to do with the spiritual world or the kingdom of God. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Babaji. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So ahead he says that Tatkatya chatalam kluptam marubhya vitalam vibho janubhyam sutalam shuddham jangabhyam tutalatalam mahatalam tu kulfabhyam prapadyabhya rasatalam patalam padatalata iti lokamaya pumanah. Yeah, Priyanka, please read this translation and purport both.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Translation. My dear son Narada, know from me that there are 7 lower planetary systems out of the total 14. The first planetary system, known as Atala, is situated on the waist. The second, Vitala, is situated on the thighs. The third, Sutala, on the knees. The fourth, Talatala, on the shanks. The fifth, Mahatala, on the ankles. The sixth, Rasatala, on the upper portion of the feet. And the seventh, Patala, on the soles of the feet. Thus, the Virat form of the Lord is full of all planetary systems. Purport. Modern enterprises, the astronauts who travel in space, may take information from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam that in space there are 14 divisions of planetary systems. The situation is calculated from the earthly planetary system, which is called Bhurloka. Above Bhurloka is Bhuvarloka, and the topmost planetary system is called Satyaloka. These are the upper 7 lokas or planetary systems. And similarly, there are 7 lower planetary systems known as Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Mahatala, Rasatala, and Patala lokas. All these planetary systems are scattered over the complete universe, which occupies an area of 2 billion times 2 billion square miles. The modern astronauts can travel only a few thousand miles away from the Earth, and therefore their attempt to travel in the sky is something like child's play on the shore of an expansive ocean. The moon is situated in the third status of the upper planetary system, and in the fifth canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, we shall be able to know the distant situation of the various planets scattered over the vast material sky. There are innumerable universes beyond the one in which we are put, and all these material universes cover only an insignificant portion of the spiritual sky, which is described above as Sanatan Brahmaloka. The Supreme Lord very kindly invites the intelligent human beings to return home back to Godhead in the following verse of the Bhagavad-gītā 8.16. Abrahma bhuvanalokaha punar avartino arjuna mam upatya tu kaunteya punar janmana vidyate. Beginning from Satyaloka, the topmost planet of the universe, situated just below the eternal Brahmaloka, as described above, all the planets are material, and one situation in any of the many material planets is still subject to the laws of material nature, namely birth, death, old age, and disease. But one can get complete liberation from all the above mentioned material pangs when one enters into the eternal Brahmaloka, Sanatan atmosphere, the kingdom of God. Therefore, liberation, as contemplated by the speculative philosophers and the mystics, is possible only when one becomes a devotee of the Lord. Anyone who is not a devotee cannot enter into the kingdom of the God. Only by attainment of a service attitude in the transcendental position can one enter into the kingdom of Godhead. Therefore, the speculative philosophers as well as the mystics must first of all be attracted to the devotional cult before they can factually attain liberation. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. So he's saying that Bhurloka kalpita patyabhyaham bhuvarlokasya nabhita swargalokah kalpito murdhana iti va loka kalpana. So he's saying that others may divide the whole planetary system into three divisions, namely the lower planetary systems on the legs up to the earth, the middle planetary systems on the navel, and the upper planetary system Swargaloka from the chest to the head of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The three divisions of the complete planet system are here mentioned. 14 are imagined by others, and that is also explained. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purpose of the second canto, fifth chapter of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam entitled The Cause of All Causes. So, we have almost reached 50% of the second canto, and hopefully we should complete maybe in the next 2 months or a month, you can say, the next 5 chapters. Because, if you see, the next chapter is a very wonderful chapter, Purusha Sukta confirmed. And these Purusha Sukta prayers are explained even in the Shrutis and the Smritis in a very wonderful way. So we'll be seeing that also. And we'll be seeing many other things also in this chapter. So the 6th chapter is also a very exciting chapter. A lot of insights we'll be getting from the 6th chapter also. So what we'll be doing is, we'll be just winding up for the day just now. And tomorrow I might not be there because the only problem is that I'm having guests at my place. So we'll meet straight on Monday now. Okay, so thank you, dear devotees. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We'll meet on Monday now, Lakshmi Narayan Prabhu. So
Okay,
because
Mataji,
I'm having
Hare
guests
Krishna.
tomorrow
I
actually.
don't know, many times it disconnected and again logged in. I don't know what's happening today.
Yeah. Maybe sometimes what happens, connection problem is also there.
Both
So
I tried Wi-Fi and mobile data also. Same problem.
you have Jio Wi-Fi or which Wi-Fi?
Jio Mataji.
Jio is
No,
very
no Mataji, Airtel.
Airtel, okay, but Jio is more powerful than Airtel. Jio does not have.
Jio is mobile data and Airtel is Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Both I'm trying. Okay, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Sorry, Mataji, I was missing all the 3-4 days.
No problem, Prabhuji, no problem. So I can understand, Grihastha, so much of problem, and we are struggling for our existence in the spiritual world and the material world. So,
Actually, I was attending Rath Yatra, Mataji, out of station.
okay.
Up and down. So, thank you, Mataji. Dandap Pranam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Jagdish Prabhu. Thank you very much for joining in. Thank you,
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Shri Prabhu, for joining in. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna. Pranam.